Hi guys, Lee Anderson was recently appointed by Rishi Sunak to the position of Deputy Chair of the Conservative Party, as we know. This has gone down pretty well with many Tory MPs and their supporters. Anderson is presented as a working class lad, and Lee has tried to use this as a stick to beat the Labour Party with. However, not everyone sees Anderson as an asset for the Conservative Party. Here Tory MP Tobias Ellwood explained that the new Deputy Chair doesn't represent everyone. Have a listen to this.
Lee Anderson seems to be very popular, Tobias.
I mean, are we having a serious conversation here? You know, leading the country,
yes.
You need to be able to command all tribes in the Conservative Party from the centre ground and appeal to the whole of the nation, not just to a particular angle, a particular cohort, a particular part of the spectrum, which I appreciate Lee Anderson does very well indeed, not least on your programme.
That's a bit of a jab at the GB News, is it not? You know, Lee Anderson represents people who watch GB News, and that's pretty much about it. Now, Lee Anderson, of course, tries to present himself as a man of the people, as a working class lad, as somebody who represents the working class and is fighting on behalf of the working class. He's recently come out and criticised the Labour Party for ignoring the working class. But I think a good way of deciding whether Lee Anderson cares about the working class is to look at his voting record. You can see here, according to They Work For You, consistently voted against higher taxes on banks. So he's against higher taxes on banks. Okay, that sounds like something that is important for the working class. Consistently voted against raising the threshold at which people start to pay income tax. Consistently voted for more restrictive regulation of trade union activity. You know, what better way to help workers than having better access to trade unions? Lee Anderson voted against that. I'm not going to go through all of his voting record because it's not all relevant to the working class, but he voted for capping civil service redundancy payment, consistently voted for restricting the scope of legal aid. Now, who generally needs access to legal aid? It's the poorest in society, people who can't afford a solicitor. And he voted to make it more difficult for the poorest in society to access legal services. And he's on the side of the working class. When it came to raising benefits, this is a bit more complicated than it seems. It says here on the 2nd of March 2022, Lee Anderson voted to increase the rates of various tax credits and benefits, including child benefit, working tax credits and related payments by 3.1% in line with inflation as as measured by the Consumer Price Index. So this sounds, well, this is something maybe to the credit of Lee Anderson. He voted to increase benefits. Well, the thing about this vote was this was policy presented by the Conservative Party, so he voted with the party. But the problem with this data is, it says here 3.1% in March 2022. But if we look at the Consumer Price Index in March 2022, you can see here CPI was 7%, not 3.1%. So what the government were doing was using data from before, when inflation was lower at 3%, and saying, yes, we're going to increase benefits to that level. But in reality, the CPI was at 7%, not 3%. And then finally, Lee Anderson consistently voted against measures to reduce tax avoidance. Lee Anderson voted not to call for proper funding of public services after a decade of austerity, nor for robust action to tackle tax avoidance and evasion. Once again, very important things for working class people. So looking at his voting record, is Lee Anderson on the side of the rich, or is he on the side of the working class? I'll let you decide. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.